Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. I heard her say it through the bedroom door. Not in a whisper, not in anger, but like it was nothing. Like my name, our vows, the years, meant nothing. I don't even want to hug him anymore, she said, laughing. That dry, casual laugh, the kind you hear from someone already gone. I froze in the hallway, just outside our room. Half-full coffee mug in one hand, my keys in the other. I wasn't supposed to hear it, but I did. She was on the phone, sprawled across our bed like a teenager at a sleepover. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I know. It's just, I don't feel anything. It's like I'm tolerating him. It's not exciting. Then silence. Then, of course I want to. I just have to be careful. He's not stupid. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. I stood there long enough to hear my heartbeat in my ears. And then, I walked away, quiet, controlled, not because I didn't care, because something inside me clicked. She thought she was safe in her indifference. She thought I'd beg, cry, explode. She didn't realize I was already leaving. Not with luggage, not yet, but with resolve. That night, we sat in the same room, same house, same bed. But everything was different. She scrolled through her phone like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't heard her destroy what was left of us with 10 casual words and a laugh. I didn't say a thing. I lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling, not thinking about what she said, but about what came next. And for the first time in months, I wasn't afraid. I was planning. In the morning, I made 1 cup of coffee. For me. She wandered into the kitchen in her robe, looked at the empty mug tree, then at me. I didn't flinch. You didn't make any for me? She asked. I smiled. Didn't think you'd want it. That smile? It wasn't sarcastic. It was surgical. I left early. Earlier than I needed to. Drove around with the windows down, music low. Thought about the years I gave her. The way I made excuses for every cold shoulder, every lie she wrapped in laughter. And I remembered, I used to love mornings. I'd forgotten who I was before her silence became the soundtrack to my life. That day, I set the first lock. Quiet. Strategic. 1 shared subscription canceled. Password changed. Email rerouted. 1 thread severed. She wouldn't notice, not yet. But she would. Because now, I was subtracting myself from every corner of her world. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. She thought I was safe because I was quiet. She forgot. The loudest exits don't come with slammed doors. They come with second cups, never made again. She didn't notice the first crack. Not really. That morning, when I made coffee for 1, she raised an eyebrow but said nothing. She stood there, watching me sip mine without offering her a cup. I could see the flicker of confusion behind her eyes. But confusion isn't the same as realization. She thought it was a one-off. A forgotten moment. Maybe she assumed I was distracted. Maybe she thought I was pouting. She had no idea I was executing. The next few days, I gave her nothing. Not distance in the physical sense. That's too obvious. I gave her something colder. Disinterest. I came home from work at the same time. Ate my dinner. Cleaned my plate. Didn't ask if she wanted any. Didn't offer to pick something up. Didn't ask about her day. Just existed in the same space with the presence of a stranger. She tried small talk. Tossed out a half-hearted joke one evening about how quiet I'd been lately. I nodded. Didn't laugh. Didn't even look up from my phone. She made pasta the next night, from scratch. Her specialty. The one she used to make when she wanted to feel connected. The kind of thing she did back when we still had something real. I ate in silence. Not a compliment. Not a reaction. Just a fork hitting the plate, a napkin folded, and a quiet, thanks. She studied me across the table like she was trying to solve a puzzle missing its edge pieces. She didn't get it yet. Not fully, but she felt it. The following morning, I left earlier than usual. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't check if she was awake. Just keys, wallet, door. Gone. I parked 2 blocks away and sat in my car for 20 minutes, sipping coffee, watching the house through the rearview mirror. I wanted her to wake up and feel the silence. Not just hear it. Feel it settle into her chest. At work, I adjusted the rest of the plan. Shifted more funds into a private account. Subscriptions? Canceled. Streaming? Gone. I deleted my profiles from our shared apps. Unlinked my devices. When she texted, "Netflix is not working. Do you know why?" I replied, "Must be a glitch." She didn't respond. That evening, She sat on the couch in that robe she hadn't worn in months. Hair done, glass of wine in hand, legs crossed. A setup. She thought she could bait me back. "You're quiet lately," she said. "Just tired," I replied. She leaned in slightly. "You okay?" I looked her in the eye. Calm. Flat. Never better. She blinked. That moment, right there, was the first time she felt it for real. The power shift. The silence wasn't an accident anymore. It was strategy, not the result of neglect, the result of precision. And she was on the wrong end of it. She spent years rationing affection like currency, withholding warmth like it made her stronger. But now, she was bankrupt, and I was the one closing accounts. Quietly, efficiently, without ceremony, because I didn't need noise to leave her behind. All I needed was the stillness. The first real ripple came on a Thursday. She texted me at noon, something simple, meaningless. "Hope your day's going okay." I read it, locked my phone, replied 2 hours later. All good. No punctuation, no warmth, just enough to confirm I'd seen it. She sent another that night. "Dinner?" I replied, "Already ate." I hadn't. I was sitting in my car outside the gym, eating a protein bar, watching the sun dip below the strip mall rooftop. I didn't want her food. I didn't want her effort. I wanted her to sit in the silence she used to weaponize. Because silence, when it's mutual, doesn't feel like peace. It feels like exile. I got home late again. She was on the couch, makeup on, hair curled, dressed like she had somewhere to be, or someone to impress. She didn't look up, didn't ask anything. That was her mistake. She thought indifference was a game she could always win. She didn't realize I wasn't playing anymore. The next morning, I pulled the plug on 3 shared accounts. Things she used daily. Spotify, Hulu, grocery delivery. She tried to reset the password later that night. I saw the email come through on my phone. She never mentioned it. But she knew. The following evening, I got home to find her standing in the kitchen, arms crossed, holding a wine glass she hadn't touched. She asked if I wanted to sit outside, talk. Said the weather was nice. Said she'd lit the fire pit. I told her I had a call to take. There was no call. I just went upstairs, sat in the office, and watched the backyard camera feed on my phone. She sat out there alone for 20 minutes. Then she blew out the flame and went inside. That night, she climbed into bed after me. No scrolling, no robe, just her, lying there, breathing shallow, staring at the ceiling. We didn't speak. She shifted once, like she was about to say something, then stopped. I stared at the back of her head, the same view I'd had for the last year, the same shape of distance. Only now it was her turn to feel what that space really meant. Over the weekend, I went through the basement, boxed up old things, organized my documents, filed away receipts, titles, tax forms. Not for her, for me. Because soon, this house wouldn't be ours. It would be mine. And I'd rather leave a ghost than a goodbye. She still hadn't said the words. Still hadn't asked. But I could feel it. She was starting to understand. The silence wasn't passive anymore. It was active, sharp, surgical, and the weight of it was finally hers to carry. By the start of the 3rd week, she wasn't just confused, she was unsettled. She started hovering, lingering around the kitchen longer in the mornings, asking questions she hadn't cared about in months. "You sleeping okay? Everything all right at work?" I gave her the same answers every time. Flat, empty, fine, yeah, no complaints. She'd search my face for something, some crack, some sign that I was bluffing, but there was nothing to find. Because I wasn't performing. I wasn't pretending to be distant. I was gone. She just hadn't realized yet that I'd left long before I ever planned to walk out the door. That weekend, she cleaned the house top to bottom, played our old playlist on the Bluetooth speaker, made pancakes like she used to on Sundays. I ate them, said thanks. Then I left. Didn't say where I was going. Didn't tell her when I'd be back. Just took the keys, stepped outside, and disappeared for 5 hours. I walked through a hardware store for no reason. Got a haircut I didn't tell her about. Bought new cologne, something colder, sharper. When I came home, she was pacing the living room, phone in hand. She looked up when the door opened, relief mixed with anger. But she didn't say a word. Just watched me pass through the house like I didn't belong to it anymore. She was right. I didn't. That night, she tried something new. Physical touch. A hand on my chest as I lay in bed. Soft. Hesitant. Like maybe if she reminded me of who we were, I come back to the script. I didn't react, didn't move, didn't even blink. She waited a few seconds, then rolled away. I heard her sigh. Not the kind you let out when you're tired. The kind that comes when you're finally afraid of the answer. She still hadn't asked. Still hadn't said the words. But now she was rehearsing them. Testing how silence tasted on her tongue. Preparing for the day she'd have to fill it herself. The next morning, I went through our shared calendar. Deleted my entries. Cleared reminders she used to rely on. Things I'd managed without credit. Car inspections, bill payments, the dentist appointments she always forgot. She noticed that night. Asked why the calendar was empty. I told her I was streamlining. She didn't respond. Just stood there, staring at her phone like it had betrayed her. The truth was starting to hit. She hadn't just been loved. She'd been carried. And now the man doing the lifting had put her down, quietly. No announcements. No warnings. Just the slow, calculated extraction of myself from her life. She wanted independence. She was finally going to feel what it meant. It happened midweek. A Wednesday. She came home early. Usually, she'd text first, let me know she was heading out from work or stopping for wine. But that day, she just showed up. Quiet. No heels. No announcement. Just the front door swinging open at 4:17 p.m. I was in the kitchen, already 3 steps into the plan. Laptop out. Files organized. A spreadsheet open with every account I'd started moving. Clean. Legal. Precise. She stood there, coat still on, staring at the table. You working from home today? She asked, casual like it mattered. I nodded once. Yeah. Didn't know that. I didn't answer. Her eyes moved from the screen to the folders. A flicker of something in her face, recognition. Not of what the papers were, but what they meant. I was organizing, separating, preparing. She turned without a word and walked down the hall. 10 minutes later, I heard the bathroom door close. Then open again. Then silence. She was unraveling, but not visibly. Not the way people do in movies. No yelling. No begging. Not yet. Her unraveling was quiet. In her pacing. In the long stares. In the way she stood near me, like proximity might reverse the course. That night, she made dinner again. Steak. Asparagus. My favorite red. We sat across from each other like we used to. Except we weren't the same. She was trying. I could see it in every motion. In the way she poured the wine without asking. In the way she smiled, like the smile itself might glue the cracks shut. But I wasn't looking for glue. I was building the exit. She asked how my day was. I said it was productive. She nodded. Swallowed hard. Anything interesting going on? I looked her dead in the eyes. Yeah. A lot, actually. That was all I gave her. She didn't press. She knew. Later that night, she came into the bedroom while I was folding laundry. She stood in the doorway like she was about to confess something. But she didn't. Just said goodnight. I didn't say it back. She waited for a beat, then walked away. And in that small moment, that hesitation at the door, I saw it. The realization. She knew I was leaving. Not physically. Not yet. But emotionally, psychologically. I'd already packed. The next morning, she left before I was up. But her perfume lingered in the hallway longer than usual. That was the first time I knew she had cried. Not from pain. From panic. She had finally looked up from the pedestal she built and realized it was already crumbling beneath her. And she didn't know how to fix it. But that wasn't my job anymore. By Friday, she was in full reaction mode. The shift wasn't loud. Not yet. It showed up in her pacing, in the way she hovered in doorways she used to ignore. Like she was hoping to catch some unspoken moment that might tell her what went wrong. But nothing had gone wrong. Everything was finally going right. She started leaving her phone face up. On the table. On the couch. Even in the bathroom while she showered. Obvious. Clumsy. A quiet way of saying, look, I'm not hiding anything. I didn't look. That weekend, she asked if I wanted to go for a drive. Said she'd found a new place by the lake. That maybe we could talk. I told her I had errands. She offered to come with me. I told her I'd be quicker alone. She nodded slowly, trying to keep her expression still. But her hand clenched the sleeve of her sweater like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She had no idea where I went. I drove 2 towns over. Walked into a quiet notary's office. Signed papers. Made copies. Bought a fireproof folder and placed every document in order. Marriage license, insurance revisions, account closures, legal drafts. This wasn't preparation anymore. This was precision. When I came home, she was in the kitchen again, cooking. Real food. The kind she hadn't made in over a year. Music playing low. Candles lit. It was a reenactment. A dress rehearsal of who she used to be. Of what she thought I still wanted. But I wasn't interested in the costume. I'd already seen behind the curtain. She smiled when I walked in, offered me a plate. Her hands shook as she set it down. I ate in silence. She sat across from me, watching every bite like it might save her. She asked if I wanted to watch something together. Something we used to love. Said she'd already queued it up. I told her I was tired. Went upstairs without another word. When she came to bed, I was already asleep, or pretending to be. She climbed in slowly, careful not to make noise. Her back to me, as always. But she didn't scroll. She just lay there, awake, doing the math in her head. All the small changes. All the missed reactions. The erased footprints I'd left behind on purpose. She was finally starting to panic. Because the silence she used to use as armor was now turning against her. It wasn't a wall anymore. It was a mirror. And what she saw in it was a woman alone in a house she no longer controlled. It was the next Tuesday when she finally cracked. I was heading out the door, gym bag in hand. No explanation offered. Same routine. Same cold execution. She stood in the hallway, arms folded, waiting. Where do you go every night? The question wasn't loud. It wasn't angry. But it trembled. That was new. I didn't stop walking. She asked again, this time softer. Are you seeing someone? I turned the doorknob. Paused. No, I said flatly. I'm seeing myself again. And then I left. No drama. No reaction. Just the quiet click of a door closing on the woman who used to believe she was untouchable. She didn't text that night. Didn't call. But the next morning, she was waiting in the kitchen, dressed for work earlier than usual. Her makeup done. Her hair curled like it used to be when she still cared what I thought. She offered me a smile I hadn't seen in over a year. Wide, practiced, built from desperation. I nodded, poured my coffee, walked out. She didn't follow. That night, I checked our joint account again. The money had been fully rerouted. The documents finalized. The account now only bore my name. She hadn't noticed yet. But soon, she would. And the thing about silence? It gives you time. Time to plan. Time to move. Time to erase yourself so cleanly that when the other person finally looks up, there's nothing left to hold on to. The following Saturday, she asked if we could talk. I said sure. We sat on opposite ends of the couch. Not touching. Not even facing each other. She took a breath, gathered her thoughts, then started talking about how things felt off, how she was confused, how maybe we'd both been distant. I said nothing. She waited for me to speak. I didn't. She asked if I still loved her. I turned my head slowly, looked her dead in the eyes. I loved the version of you that loved me back. Then I stood up and went upstairs. She stayed on that couch for hours. Didn't eat. Didn't turn on the TV. Just sat there, in the glow of a house that no longer felt like hers. That night, I heard her crying through the wall. Not loud sobs. Not dramatic weeping. Just quiet, broken breathing. The sound someone makes when they're realizing the damage wasn't accidental. That it was designed. Measured. Delivered in silence, not rage. She wanted control. Now she was choking on it. By the end of that week, she was studying me. Watching everything. How long I spent getting ready. Which drawer I opened first. What shirt I wore to the gym. She was trying to decode a language I'd stopped speaking a month ago. That's what panic looks like when it doesn't have a voice. But I wasn't rushing. I wasn't cruel. I was exact. I waited until she went to yoga Sunday morning, then took the manila folder from the office drawer. Inside, clean copies, bank closures, subscription logs, financial reallocations. And one more thing, a draft agreement. Not a divorce filing. Not yet. A quiet line in the sand. She returned before noon. I was in the living room, folder on the table, calm as the morning sun. She froze when she saw it. Her voice cracked before she even said a word. What's that? I didn't answer. She sat slowly, hands trembling as she flipped through the pages. Page 1, financial separation. Page 2, shared assets. Page 3, property title proposal. No emotion, just numbers. Hard lines. What is this? She asked, barely above a whisper. I'm giving you space, I said. Paperwork helps define it. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a language she never learned. I stood, Grabbed my keys. Left her there. She didn't call. That night, when I returned, she was in bed early. Lights off. Back turned. No scrolling. No comments. She didn't sleep. I heard her breathing change. I knew what was happening. She wasn't just afraid of losing me. She was afraid she already had. Because silence only scares people when they realize it's no longer passive. When they know it isn't born from confusion, but from choice. I moved more files the next day. Consolidated. Removed myself from the last joint credit account. The notifications hit her inbox. No text followed. No confrontation. She was too stunned to argue. That night, I found her in the laundry room, folding shirts that didn't need folding. Her eyes glassy, her movements robotic. I walked past, not to punish, to remind that this wasn't about revenge. It was about recognition. She had trained me into silence. Now she was living inside it. She thought distance made her powerful, but she never understood. The most dangerous man in the world is the one who stops asking for anything and simply takes everything back. The silence started folding in on her. She was still in the house, still walking through the same rooms. But everything felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were finally pressing back. She spent most of that week trying to reverse engineer time. She wore old favorites, the sweater she used to laugh in, the perfume she hadn't touched since last fall. She played our old playlist again, louder this time. Forced nostalgia is louder than guilt. But I didn't react. I came home later, left earlier, cleaned my own space, washed only my own clothes. I'd become so self-contained that even my absence was clean. No chaos, no yelling, just surgical distance. By Wednesday, she started asking real questions. Are you leaving me? I didn't lie. I didn't explain. I just said, I already did. She blinked like the words knocked the air from her chest. But I didn't wait to see her reaction. I grabbed my coat and left. That night, I moved the final pieces. Booked a temporary apartment, just a few miles away. Enough to disappear without leaving the city. I didn't pack yet, but I boxed everything that mattered. Quiet. Methodical. The next day, she followed me into the kitchen. No makeup. No lines rehearsed. I made a mistake, she said. I thought you were always going to be there. I poured my coffee. Nothing more. You were, she added. Until I made you stop. I said nothing. She reached out, barely grazing my arm with her fingertips. This time, I didn't flinch. I didn't move at all. Because when someone no longer matters to you, they don't have the power to make you react. That's what scared her the most. Not anger. Indifference. That night, she cried again. Louder this time. I heard it from down the hall. The kind of crying that isn't about sadness. It's about collapse. She had built a life where she got to choose when to engage, when to connect, when to withhold. She thought affection was a tool. Thought love was a resource she could allocate at her convenience. And now, that same resource was gone. She woke up Friday and tried something new, an apology. Not the word, not directly, but her actions. She made breakfast, put my favorite mug on the table, sat down across from me without a phone in her hand. Can we start over? She asked. I looked at her, quiet. Then I stood up, took my coffee, and walked out the front door. She stayed seated, staring at the empty chair across from her, the one that used to hold a man who would have done anything to save her. Now, she could sit in that silence and listen to the echo of her own choices. I didn't leave in the middle of the night. I didn't slam the door, didn't pack in a rush, or leave a note on the counter like some dramatic ending. That's not how men like me disappear. I waited until Sunday morning. She was still asleep, hair spread across her pillow like nothing had changed. But everything had. I looked at her one last time, not out of longing, not even out of sadness. Just recognition. She was the lesson, not the loss. I took only what was mine. The documents. The clothes I'd folded in quiet preparation. My watch. My grandfather's ring. A few photos of my parents. Nothing else. Not one object tied to her version of us. I closed the front door behind me and didn't look back. The apartment was simple, clean, uncluttered. No history embedded in the walls. No perfume in the curtains. No ghosts on the furniture. It felt like air. Later that day, my phone buzzed. 3 missed calls, 2 texts. All from her. Where are you? Please don't do this. But it was already done. That night, she posted a quote on her social media. Something vague. Something desperate. Sometimes you don't realize what you had until it's gone. Comments flooded in from friends. Sympathy. Confusion. Nobody asked what she did. Only how I could just vanish. And that's when I knew the silence worked. Not because it was cruel. Because it left her with nothing to rewrite. She couldn't spin it. Couldn't turn it into a fight or a betrayal. Couldn't say I screamed, begged, cheated, or exploded. She had nothing to cling to except the weight of her own reflection. The story ended the moment I stopped giving her pages to write on. 3 days later, a letter arrived at her door. Not an email, not a text, a printed envelope, hand-delivered. Inside, my signature. Divorce papers. No drama. No insults. No explanations. Just facts. Attached was a note with one sentence. You wanted space. Now it's yours. That was it. No response came. But a mutual friend reached out a week later. She's not doing well. I nodded. But I didn't ask why. Because I already knew. She thought the scariest thing a man could do was raise his voice. She was wrong. The scariest thing a man can do is walk away without making a sound and never return. Because now, every room she walks into feels a little too quiet. Every silence sounds like me. And the only thing louder than my absence is the life she could have had. Let her sit with that. Forever. What would you have done in my place? If the story hit you, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe. It only gets stronger from here.